Hi, Rabbi Fischer here. There's a lot in the news now about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, who is also known as Bibi, engaged in discussions, negotiations over the possible return of hostages, Israeli hostages taken by Hamas. And the Hamas demands that Israel should give up, hand over hundreds and hundreds, beyond 1,000 bloodthirsty murderers whom Israel has arrested and captured in previous efforts to stop terror. And Hamas is saying that if you want to get any of your hostages back, you're going to have to let all these murderers loose, come back to us. And on top of it, we want you out of Gaza so that we can go back in and take over the government again. We want you completely out of Gaza. And we certainly want you away from the Philadelphia corridor, which is at southern Gaza, the boundary borderline between Gaza and Egypt. And if you don't do it, we won't let the hostages go. And just to make our point, we'll kill a bunch of them, just to make the hostage talks a little bit more lively. Any normal person would tell them to go screw themselves. Joe Biden could actually come away and say that maybe Israel's not doing enough in the negotiations. You've got the Israeli left, who so much hate Netanyahu that they would sooner tear down the country of Israel faster than Hamas would, if that would get Netanyahu out of power. And you have Biden and now his lackey coming up the pipe, Harris, talking about how on the one hand they're so sorry and they're so heartbroken about the dead hostages. No. And Israel should give Hamas everything they want. Well, let me tell you, Israel, for 5 times in a row, has had wars with Hamas that Hamas started, each time breaking the previous ceasefire that Israel had agreed to go into with Hamas. 5 previous times Israel got out of Gaza, they made a ceasefire, they agreed to everything Hamas wanted. In return for one single hostage, Gilad Shalit, Israel released over 1,000 Hamas murderers, including a guy who got lost in the shuffle named Yahya Sinwar, and he went on to become the head of Hamas. He's the guy that's running the whole show now with October 7, hiding in tunnels amid the hostages. And the way he got to be that is because he had been released in a previous exchange. For one hostage of Israel, they gave up 1,000 Arab terrorists of Hamas. And every time it's always the same. Israel is told, what are you afraid of? Go out of Gaza. There'll be peace. And if they break the peace agreement, you'll go back in. As if it's that simple. As if it's like walking out a door and reopening the door because you forgot your keys. Israel has found in the past, when she assigned ceasefires with Gaza and Hamas and left, it wasn't so easy to go back in. It cost hundreds upon hundreds of lives of Israeli soldiers getting shot at and bombed at. And the entire world turns on Israel each time she goes back in after having been told, you can go back in if you sign the deal. The European Union turns on Israel and forgets what they assured Israel. The International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, the United Nations, most American state departments. Well, Israel says, but didn't you promise us that if we leave and they break the ceasefire, we can go back in and reach status quo ante, back where it was? Well, we said it, but that was a long time ago, and now things are different, and you'll make trouble, and it's going to cause all kinds of difficulties, so we're against you going in. And there's going to be an arms embargo if you go in. Well, right now, Israel is in. 1,200 Jews and others were murdered on October 7, 2023. Women were raped. Dead women were raped after they were killed. Babies were killed. Babies were put into ovens and burned alive. This was done to Jews. It was done to Muslims. It was done to people from something like 52 different countries, including like 8 people from the United States. And oh, the world was so sorry and sad. Everybody was laying wreaths for Jews, poor dead Jews. Everybody was heartbroken October 7th, October 8th. October 9th, and now they've forgotten all about it. Israel has fought her way into Gaza, has wiped out well over 15,000 terrorists, has destroyed 80% of the tunnels that were built, and she's now reached through the back end all the way through Gaza to Delphi corridor. She's gone through Gaza City and Khan Yunis and Rafah, in order to get to that Philadelphia corridor. And the reason that Philadelphia corridor is so important is that Hamas smuggles in all their weapons and equipment, the equipment with which they create weapons, to build rockets and launchers and weapons themselves, and bullets and grenades. It all gets smuggled in from Egypt, through that Philadelphia corridor into southern Gaza. That's how they keep rearming after each previous war knocked out all their weapons. And Egypt has supposed to be security along the Philadelphia corridor to protect against any smuggling. But those guards are paid bribes. Well, they're told that they'll be killed if they don't let the stuff through. And they know they will be killed. So they let the stuff through. So Israel does not want to leave the Philadelphia corridor, and they should not leave. To the degree that Biden is going to tell Israel how to negotiate for hostages, Biden's philosophy is you give away everything you have. If you have the world's #1 dealer in illegal arms, the merchant of death, you give him up for a basketball player. That's how he negotiates. Or Obama's approach, where you just give hundreds of millions of dollars to Iran. Israel's not going to do that anymore. She's done it again and again and again and again. And this time, Israel will stand firm. Now, Sinwar knows how the Israeli left works. Having found that he cannot get the European Union to pressure Netanyahu, and that the International Court of Justice cannot, and the International Criminal Court cannot, and Biden and Harris cannot, and every single source of pressure has failed, he knows he can always count, if all else is done, on the Israeli left, the likes of Ehud Barak and Ehud Olmert, and just the whole Israeli left. They're only too happy to be his useful idiots and try to tear down the Israeli government. If I can't destroy Israel's government and take down Netanyahu through any other normal source, I'll let the Israelis do it for me. I'll go for the 50% of Israelis who will go marching in Tel Aviv and Kaplan Street and demand to take down the government. I just have to figure out how exactly can I press them enough to make them crazy enough to do it. I know what. Let's kill some of their hostages. We'll kill some of their hostages. That will be their opening to blame not Sinwar or Hamas for killing the hostages, but they'll blame Netanyahu for killing the hostages. And so that's what we'll do. We'll kill the hostages. The Israeli left predictably will blame Netanyahu. They will tear down Netanyahu's government, force him to pull away from the Philadelphia corridor and leave Gaza. They'll do the negotiating for me. And that's exactly what's happened. And therefore, the left doesn't realize they are the ones who killed the 6 hostages. Had they marched with signs that said, flatten Gaza, nuke Hamas, turn Sinwar into a real woman, Sinwar would have seen he's got no outlets. Everyone's united in bringing him down. But instead, he sees signs that give Sinwar what he wants. Free the hostages at all costs. If it means giving up 1,000 murderers who will end up killing 10,000 Jews over the next 10 years, it's worth it. He can count on it. And that's why they are the ones who killed those hostages. Because he, knowing what they are, decided to tighten the noose a little bit. Give credit to Netanyahu. He has given in too often during the years he's been prime minister. This is his finest hour. He's not caving in, and good for him.